with Geiger. But thank you so much for inviting me here to the annual investor meeting. I'm very, very honored to be here with such a wonderful group. So we just have some minor arrangements because this is a really fun workshop. And I have thought that I would get you guys into teams. So, okay, maybe that's better. So I thought I would get everyone into teams so that we could work with people that you don't know. And that way we start connecting, because Dubai is all about connections. The Expo is all about connections. It's all about meeting new people, getting out of our comfort zone, and maybe making new friends, okay? And I certainly will be enjoying meeting and talking to each of you. So what I'd like is for us to separate into teams. There's no need for us to do that now because I'm going to take you through some basic concepts. But then we're going to get into the workshop. And when we get into the workshop, then we'll get into teams, and you will be creating with your team a business model. By the time you leave here today, this morning, we will have a new business model apart from the one you're already working on, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. And thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for having me here. Okay, so Prashant left. I'm sorry? So I think we met in IE University, maybe? No? No. Okay.
I am a businessman.
Okay, you're a businessman.
Principal of Algerian Businessman Association.
Okay, wonderful. Well, nice to meet you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Leticia Ponce Hernandez, because in Mexico and in Spain we have double last names. And I'm actually Mexican. Okay, so I'm actually Mexican. And I'm going to take you through my bio. So I started college when I was 16. I'm a graphic designer, and when I graduated at the age of 20, I asked my parents if they would send me to France. So in France, learning French in Paris, I decided I didn't want to be a graphic designer anymore. I had been working as a graphic designer for others, and I didn't like my client telling me how to change my designs. Obviously, I was a spoiled brat that didn't know anything about life, because today I know that the client is always true. You know, he's the one who has the truth, and you have to do what he wants. Anyway, when I got back to Mexico, I started working at Leo Burnett, but not on the creative side, actually on the executive side. After that, I realized as a graphic designer, I was completely lost in the world of business. There were lots of terms I didn't know, so I decided to go back to school. I got my MBA at Northwestern University of Chicago, Kellogg School of Management. I don't have any of you heard of Kellogg other than the cereal? Okay, so some of you might have heard of Kellogg. It's a top MBA school in the US, and I was very honored to have been accepted there. Anyway, when I graduated, I started my career at GE Capital, and I had an incredible time there. By that time, I had met a wonderful Spaniard who I had met in Mexico during my break, and I had fallen in love with, and we got married in Mexico. But when we came back from our honeymoon, the 1994 Mexican crisis, called the tequila effect, had arrived, and the financial system collapsed. So after that, he decided he wanted to go back to Spain. So we returned to Spain. I continued working with GE Capital. But I missed home terribly. And I thought, you know, this is a great opportunity, but I would really love to have a business of my own to take me back to Mexico. And that's when I became the master franchise in 1995. I signed the contract, or 1996, of KA International, a Spanish textile company, decorating company. And they have over 450 stores worldwide. And I decided that, you know, it would be an incredible opportunity for me to develop the Mexican market. So for 8 years, I was a master franchise of this company. Now, imagine myself, this was crazy, right? Because I'm setting up a family in Spain, but my business is in Mexico. Fortunately for me, I had partnered up with my mother, and we had created an incredible team in Mexico, but I was still the CEO, and I was traveling back and forth like crazy. and starting a family. Not a good combination, okay? When you can't have a business 9,500 kilometers away, or at least back then. Today, it's all possible. Why? Because we have technology, right, to assist us. Back then, internet was only beginning, and it was so slow to send this document. There was obviously no Zoom, no fast tech and 4G, so it was really complicated. Finally, I decided to leave that, and I ended up working. My husband, who's not only handsome but very smart, he said, "Why don't you send your CV to IE University, to IE? You can teach. It'll be, you know, very comfortable. You'll have the children's vacation." And what I didn't know was that I would discover a vocation. I fell in love with teaching. And so I have been teaching at IE University since 2009. I started off teaching management. I quickly realized that this was a brand new university. I was hired to be one of the first professors, and there was nothing going on. And so I created the Startup Lab in the year 2011. Since then, I have been helping my students create their businesses. And it's been an amazing journey. So some of them have been doing really, really well. Others, well as well, because part of being an entrepreneur is failure. It's something that we have to get in our brains, okay? It's okay to fail as long as we learn the lesson, okay? There's always lessons. So in Silicon Valley, that's a culture where failure is okay, and you get valued on failure. Now, in Spain, where I now live, they have a hard time with that, but we need to digest that because there's a very high percentage of startups that fail. And it's okay, because entrepreneurs keep going, okay? It's in their DNA. If you're a real entrepreneur, you're gonna be pushing it all the way. Your passion, your drive, your motivation is what's gonna get you to realize your dreams. And those dreams will arrive, but you have to believe in yourself. Okay, so that's me. I want to test how awake you are. Okay, let's see if this actually works. So let's start with our friend, the businessman from Algeria. Hello, what's your name? Okay. And next to you we have?
Amin.
Amin, also from Algeria?
Yes.
Okay, and up front?
Rafiq, also from Algeria.
Okay, also from Algeria? Okay, wonderful. And you are? Korean? Okay, welcome. And your name is?
My name is Rose Hamilton.
Okay, and we will wear name tags so that we can remember these names. Yeah. Okay. Okay, if not, I think we'll do a round of testing and we'll forget about the music again. I'm sorry, we'll start with you then. South Korea as well? Carrie. 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 Hey, Terry. Carrie. 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 Oh, Carrie. Carrie. And you are?
I'm Linda, originally from California, also in Ghana, and I live in Vienna, and I'm a business angel, and I hear with new startups.
Okay.
So we're here to participate for the first time.
Oh,
We've got from Japan, I've got another Austrian, two Austrians,
Fantastic.
and Koreans, and I'm very proud to be a part of your workshop.
Oh, wow.
More about you guys.
Great. Okay, so we'll have to talk up and catch up on Mexico, California. Great. Hi. And you are from? From Dubai. Thank you. Are you from the biggest group? Yes. Wonderful. And your name is? Krista. Okay. And you're welcome. And you are? Leticia. Tocayas. In Mexico, Tocayas, eh? Okay. And you are from? Okay. Thank you. Okay, Andrea, welcome.
Kevin Olivine from Diaco.
Okay.
And Jessica from DSC.
Wonderful. Back there. Okay, welcome, our youngest participants. But hey, I've had amazing startups presented by young adults of 18-year-old. Okay, so great for you. And you are? Young man?
Patrick Rocher from Kenya.
Okay.
Pearl from Egypt.
Egypt, thank you.
Fifi from Congo.
Okay, come.
Sandra from Barcelona.
Ah, fantastic. Welcome.
Dave from Barcelona, Spain.
Welcome. So I'm Leticia from Madrid, but originally from Mexico. And you are?
Betsy from Kenya.
Kenya, Betsy. Marie, welcome. Welcome.
Elena from Spain.
Okay, Elena, what part of Spain?
From Valencia.
From Valencia.
Amr from Egypt.
Okay, Amar, from Egypt, and you are? Okay, welcome, welcome. So, oh, we've lost the presentation. That seems even worse. Now that we were on our way. Well, I guess we're just keeping, we're still receiving people here. Welcome, welcome, don't be shy. Please come in and find a place. So, Prashant, if not, we'll just skip that. Yeah, we'll just skip that. Okay, we've woken everyone up. We've shaken things a bit. I actually wanted to do a little contest and get you guys working on your 70s music, knowledge of 70s music, but I guess we'll have to do that another time. Okay, so let's go over some basic concepts, okay? Because I assume that you're all here, you all know about startups, but still, you know, let's go through some very basic knowledges. What is a company, right? So a company is an organization that's going to generate revenue or profit from the value that we are creating through our products and services. So we all understand that, right? But what's a startup? Who can tell me what a startup is? So if that's a company, what is a startup? Yes?
I think the first thing you want to start up is your clients are unknown.
Okay, great. So unknown customers. What else is unknown?
Customers and there's something also important, time.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Time.
Time, okay, time. We don't know when we're going to discover our customers. Anyone else? What are we also missing? Okay, knowing how the revenue is going to come in. Okay, so maybe not even the revenue itself, just even knowing what revenue streams are going to happen. What else is missing when we're a startup?
Team?
Maybe we're missing a team. That's a great one. I'm sorry? Okay, great. Yes? Trust. Partners. Innovation. Okay. And you were saying the funding, right? You were saying funding FFF or? Okay. Okay. And I think, you know, what hasn't been said here is the value proposition. So we are missing a lot of ingredients. So a startup is really a temporary organization that is still looking for that business model. And that's the difference between a startup and a company. In a company, we know how we're creating value for our customers, and we know who our customers are. But in a startup, it's all a big incognito. We are really just looking, you know, and investigating and researching. So let's keep that in mind, you know, and that's why I said, you know, the process of creating a startup is a lot of validation. So how are we going to do that? Well, first we're going to find our business model, right? We're going to try at least, and that's what this workshop is all about. Me explaining to you how to come up with a business model canvas. We don't write business plans anymore. I'm sorry, I didn't remember your name?
Linda.
Linda, do you receive business plans today?
I wish I did.
You wish you did? No, you don't wish you did. You like a tech pitch, right?
When I like to check as an investor,
Okay.
what I always ask is, where is your market?
Okay.
And what do you think is your first return revenue? What is your speculation? I don't expect a business plan because they're developing.
Okay, great. So what we want is to understand all those things that a business plan entails, but not necessarily to write it up, because we know that it's not going to stand. Once we have it, if we start with the business plan, very probably we're just going to have a very nice written document that's not going to be worth anything. What we really want is to understand the business model and develop a business model. And that's where the business model canvas comes in. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking in today. The other thing that we need to understand is that we have to use lean startup methodology. Okay, it's all about experimentation. So it's a method used to create a company, right, while introducing a product on behalf of or introducing a product on behalf of the existing company. But it's all about testing it. So let's go over, you know, some basic things. So Steve Blank is like the grandfather of teaching entrepreneurship. When I was at Kellogg, This is 1993, and I took the first course on entrepreneurship that the university was giving, that the Kellogg School of Management was teaching. And it was taught completely different. It was very theoretical. We did a lot of secondary research, but we didn't go out on the field. Steve Black came along in 2011 with his Startup Owner's Manual, a very important book that was used throughout all the MBAs and universities in the US. And Steve Black basically came to say, hey, we have to come out and discover who our customer is. First thing, right? Who is our customer and what problem or need does he have? That's the first thing we need to understand. So that process in itself is going to take us time because we might have some assumptions on who they are, but we need to go out and validate that. We have to get out of the building, as Steve Black would say. The next one is the customer validation, right? Developing a sales model that can be replicated, because we want a startup is replicated. You want to be able to repeat it and grow it, scale it. Okay, then we have customer creation, which is creating and driving end-use demand. How do we get those customers, once we have a business model that we're validating, how do we get them to know that we exist? How do we drive traffic into our websites or into our business, right? Or our applications or whatever we are doing. We need to understand how do we drive this. And then we have, finally, this is the last stage. When we have a proven business model, we're going to start to find, and grow our team. So find our teammates, and especially start recruiting. So that's this phase, company building. And so it's moving away from the lean startup and really consolidating your business based on the hypotheses that have been validated. So in this step one, we're going to define the mission. What is a mission? Who can tell me what a mission is? Does understanding what you're in business to do sound familiar? That's a mission, and it's for all of your stakeholders. Lots of times people confuse mission and vision. So a mission is, what are you in business to do? A vision is your dream. Okay, well, the mission is for all the stakeholders, and you can share it with anyone. A vision is very much for you and your employees, okay, and for your investors. It's where are we heading? What's our dream? What do we dream of achieving? And then, of course, we want to have strong core values defined, because once we start recruiting, we want to recruit people with the same values that we have established as founders for our company. So when you have two candidates with very similar skills that you're looking for, hire the one that has your values, okay? And that's going to pay off in the long run. So we're going to create our hypothetical business model, and we're going to get out of the building and start validating our hypotheses. So how do we do this? Through interviews, basically. I mean, there's lots of ways of doing it, but in this very initial phase, don't go out and do a survey, okay? The survey will only be as good as the questions that you ask in the survey and the population size. So if it's not a large enough population size, it's going to be worthless. And because we don't have a lot of money in a startup to actually, do real market research and hire a firm, then all you have to really do is get out of the building and start interviewing possible customers and understanding their problems, their needs. Okay, listening to them. We have one mouth, right? But we have 2 ears. So we should be listening and not talking. And we're going to get to that later. Okay, and please don't interview family and friends, because all my students come back with interviews of their families and their friends, and hey, that's not really necessarily our customer segment. Make sure you get to people that you don't know, but who are your customers. So that's another key thing to take into account. When you're creating a startup, if you're not going to have enough access to the right customer segment, you might want to rethink the problem that you're addressing. Okay, and then have informal conversations with industry experts, with competitors. It's okay to go and talk to your competitors, find out how they're doing things, ask them what their toughest challenges are, etc. Please, welcome. So then we're going to go on to customer validation. We're going to examine scalability, and we're going to show the repeatability of the hypothesis. Then here's the key. We're going to develop an MVP as quickly as we can. That does not mean having to wait for a funding round. We want to be able to make something, even if it's very basic, okay? We want to go out and create maybe just the first landing page with a currency tester, a video explaining what we do. It can all be smoke. The video doesn't have to, the product doesn't have to exist, but we act like if it does, okay? And what we're going to do is try to test that. So get that early version out there. And as I was saying, landing page with a video explainer, maybe a brochure or diagram, crowdfunding page that will show us if people are interested in funding our project. Even using concierge style. So even if you're supposed to be have an algorithm that's going to be calculating things, at the beginning, do it yourself. You know, don't let people know that the algorithm doesn't exist, but you do everything concierge style, okay, and make sure that it gets tested. Or finally, a mock-up. Then we're going to go on to customer creation, that phase of how do we get our customers to be aware that we exist, right? Because we want demand for that solution. That's what we're aiming for. So maybe start with social media, Facebook, Instagram, SEO. Then maybe activate your sales channels. If you're planning on having a direct sales, well, become the first salesman. You go out there and try to sell it, okay? So don't wait until you have 20 people in your sales force to test this, because it's going to be very expensive. You go out and start selling it. And if people start getting excited about what you're selling, hey, you're on to something, okay? And then finally, we have the company transformation. Okay, so Steve Blank, this grandfather of entrepreneurship, had a student called Eric Ries. And Eric Ries followed the customer discovery process and said, there's something missing here. So he wrote a book called The Lean Startup, right? And it's all about business model validation. And he's saying the basic things that Steve Blank is saying, just in another way, and more focusing on the experimentation, the testing, the retesting of what you're doing, right? So listen to your customers, don't sell them the idea. And this is a mistake that so many entrepreneurs make, because they think they have an amazing idea. And so when they have the opportunity of meeting with the customer, the first thing they tell them about is their idea. Wrong way to go. Okay, that is not where we want to be. What we want to do is put ourselves in the shoes of our customer and really understand his problem, right? Empathizing. So in order to do that, we have to speak very little and actively listen to what they're telling us, right? And that's what we're going to be jotting down. And that's what's going to be crucial in order for us to later be able to do a really strong empathy map of our customer that will take us to creating a customer persona, a fictional person that we know is modeled after all the interviews that we've had. So this is not about 1 or 2 interviews. This is about 50, 80, 100 interviews before we even get started. You know, we even start thinking of a possible solution. And this is where entrepreneurs make their major mistake, because they're so excited about their idea, they want to jump in and develop an app and start talking to programmers and start spending money on something that hasn't been validated, on a problem that still has not been validated, right? So we need to step back, take things slowly, get out of the building, and start interviewing our customers. Then we're ready to implement our learnings, as I said, probably in that empathy map, customer persona. Then, by using Lean, we want to fail fast. We want to fail fast and pivot quickly, okay? By learning what we've learned from our customers, our possible customers, we'll be able to change whatever's necessary in our business model. And this is crucial because we haven't started spending money, ideally, and we're already changing our idea. And that's great. That's where we want to be. And that's way before we get to Linda and the angel investors, okay? Or the VCs. This is like step 1. But no, entrepreneurs are in a big hurry And we jump most of the phases and start talking to investors before we really understand or have validated our business model. So let's take it slowly. Okay, remember, consumers dictate what products and services they want. Remember when I told you about my graphic design experience? How I was a spoiled brat and I wanted to do my designs without taking into consideration the customer? Guess what? The customer's paying. If you don't create value for the customer, you're not going to have any customers. So it's crucial that we listen to what they need and we develop a solution for their problems, not for our great ideas. Okay? And finally, we're not going to get anywhere if we don't measure, because angel investors and VCs want metrics. They want to know your cost of acquisition. They want to know your churn rate, how many people will be dropping you. They want to know your lifetime customer value, etc. Okay, so we're going to need to be able to have these metrics in order to be able to show them to the angel investors and get funding. So the lean startup methodology is, as I said, identifying that problem that needs to be resolved, forming a hypothesis about it, creating a minimum viable product, testing your minimum viable product, and then measuring, learning, and pivot. So it's a circle, okay? So it's a never-ending circle. And once we have that one out there, we start again with a new idea, a new problem, a new whatever, okay? So we are in a circle that is going to help us fail fast, get onto the right track, and really be able to provide for our customer something that is of value for them. That's the most important thing, creating value for our customers. So as Eric Ries said, startup success can be engineered by following the process, which means that it can be learned, which means it can be taught as well, right? So that's where I come in. And that's why I am so happy, dedicated to teaching this methodology. Okay, let's start with identifying the problem and need. This is the biggest challenge, and that's what we're going to be working on as the first part of our workshop, identifying a problem, right? So there are challenges to identifying the problem. The first one is that the team normally starts with the solution. This is a major problem, as I said before. They already have an idea in mind, and what they want is to get customers to validate that for them, okay? And so they're going to skew the information that they're receiving in order to validate this, but it might be the wrong way to go. Okay, we can also confuse symptoms with problems. So this is also an issue, that we have to be aware of. Sometimes we think that the symptom is a real problem, but that's why we need to do a lot of interviews and really understand what the problem is. Sometimes founders concentrate on the causes of the problems and not the problem itself. And sometimes they have limited access to the customer segment that's being validated. So you want to create an incredible app that is going to take you to the next planet, but you're not in touch with engineers, you have no access to astronomers. Well, that's going to be complicated. So you need to be able to access your customer segment in order to do all those interviews. Okay, so what questions should we be asking? The first one and obvious, what problems do you need to be resolved, right? Why is this a problem? Get customers to talk about those pains. In order for us to do the empathy map, we really need to understand what are the pains that our customers are going through. How serious are they? Where is the problem observed? Is this observed when they're using a particular application or doing some type of selling technique? Where do they see it? Or is it in a product or service that they are not providing? Who is this affected by the problem? How many people are there? And that's something that we're going to have to analyze with also secondary information. I don't know how many of you have ever used TAM-SAM-SUM in your presentations. Did you see those? TAM-SAM-SUM? So total available market, service available market, and your serviceable obtainable market. So that's something that investors want to see. How big can you get, and how many people can actually become your customers in a year or two, right? How often is the problem observed? What did you do to solve this problem? What have you done in the past? What are you doing now? How important is it for you to solve this? Is it so important that you actually tried to solve it yourself, even though that's not your business? That's when you know you're onto something. If someone is trying to resolve this, and they spent time and hired someone to actually try to solve this, then you know that if there are more people with this problem, you're onto something, so go get it. Why haven't you been able to solve this problem? How serious is this problem for your everyday life? So these are questions that you guys should be asking your customers when you get out there and start your interview process. So let's do this now. We have some people who have joined us. We're gonna get you into teams. We're going to give you some sheets of paper. I wanted teams of 5, and I wanted to break you up so that you're with people that you don't know. Okay? So maybe maybe we can try something like mixing people from all continents, or men and women, different nationalities, and different companies. Okay? Or I'll just start with grouping. I'll give you guys a number, and once we have that group, we'll see how mixed we are. Okay? So bear with me. You're going to be number 1. You're going to go to team number 1. You're going to go to team number 2. You're going to go in team 3, team 4, team 5. Okay? Which you probably have more teams. Team 6, team 7, and team 8. Let's try this. Okay? So maybe I'm saying 8 by 5. I don't know if there's 40 people here. 2 more. Okay, so you guys know your numbers? Yes. Okay, so you're gonna be in team 1. All right. Team 2. Memorize that, okay? So I left you on team 8. Did you write team 7?
Team 8. Team 8.
7, 8.
Okay, wait, then you are? Okay, fantastic. 7, 8. 1, no wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you participating? I'm sorry? Are you participating? No. Team 8. I said wait. I said 6?
I'm 6.
7 and 8. Okay. 1. I'm going to break you up. Is that okay? Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Did you get a number? Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then the 7 and 8. And then 1 and team 2. Okay, so we have to do this organized. So everybody get up, and what we're gonna do is, yeah, exactly what this young man has done. Someone write on a piece of paper, you know, one number. So someone write a 1, someone write a 2. Let's get the people, yeah, at the beginning so we don't replicate numbers. Okay, get together, and I'm going to be delivering pieces of paper. And once I deliver the pieces of paper, I'm going to give you the instructions, and I guess we're going to have to go organize yourselves around tables here. Okay, so number 1 is here. Why don't we put number 2 here? Why don't we get number 2 over here? So everybody has to stand up. Wherever you're in. Okay, so 2, okay, 2's here. 3's here. Where are 4's? Where do we have 4's? Here. 4, well, let's get to this side, okay, because the 3's are here, so let's go over here. Where's 5? Team 5? Team 5 is here. Team Algeria, come over here. Team 5. Team 6? Okay, Team 6 here in the back. Team 7? Team 7, okay. And where's Team 8? Team 8? I'm missing 2. Team 8. Team 8.
Perfect.
Who am I missing? Team 8? Okay. Is everybody in their team? 7, 7. Yeah, this is perfect.
India,
So
India.
Girl?
Great.
Am I missing some 5 and 6? You guys team 8?
Only 4?
Okay. So, and are you joining us?
I just arrived.
Okay, welcome. welcome. So you are? No. We're just starting, and this is the funnest part. So come and join me. I'm going to put you in a team. So we're going to go with team 3. First, team 3. Team 3. Okay, team 3 is here.
Yes.
Okay.
We have to take on the table.
Team 4, team 3.
You cut.
So, sir, if you can join this team, please. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give you paper. I'm gonna give you magic marker, and what you're going to do is going to brainstorm. Okay. So you are going to. I'm gonna first give the papers, and then I'll give you the instructions of how I want the brainstorm. Brainstorming, for it to be effective, is A, we do not judge. B, we do not share our ideas. Okay? Each one has to think of as many ideas as possible without thinking, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? Okay, young men, come here. I'm going to put you in a team. So where's team 4?
Here.
Team 4, you're here. You are here. Team 5. Team 5? Here. Okay, team 5, you're going to go there. Team 6, I need a team 6. In back, you go in the back. Team 7, over here. Please join them. And then team 8, one of you, and team 8 here. And you haven't had a team, so team 1, where's team 1? Team 1? Team 1 here, okay? Okay, thank you. So, I'm gonna grab paper and tell you guys. So, if one from each team comes here and gets a piece of, gets 2 sheets of paper, that would be amazing. What's your name?
We work on wet paper here.
Okay. So someone from each team, one person from each team, 2 papers. 1 or 2, 1. Okay, see how many you have. But if you can help me, that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to start giving you instructions. Each team should have these white pieces of paper. Now, you all have individual papers as well in your little notebook. Did you get a notebook, sir? Yes. Okay, so in your notebooks, what you're going to do is, in the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to take my phone out to measure this, you're going to brainstorm individually. That means that without talking, I want complete silence so that everyone thinks of 5 problems that they are familiar with and could talk to a customer segment about. Okay, so this is problems that you might have experienced or problems that you know that a sector that you work in has. Do not make judgments. Don't think, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? I don't want you to think that at all right now. I want you to silently, for the next 5 minutes, come up, generate as many ideas as you can, individually, without talking to anyone in your group, okay? Make problems that you have encountered in your life, that you know the customer segments have. Just think about problems in your daily life. Yes.
That's our ideas.
It's your ideas, yeah.
I mean, we don't just ideas.
No. Obviously, this is not you thinking about your startup. It's a problem that you know the people that you know have. Okay? So it's a problem that you know that other people that you know have. So don't think about it, just brainstorm. Brainstorm means flowing of ideas, as many as you can. I want at least 5 ideas from each one in the next 5 minutes. That's 1 idea per minute. Are you ready? Let's get started. Go! No talking. No talking. This is silent work, individual work. Problems that you have experienced yourself or that you know someone else is experiencing, maybe in work, Maybe, you know, you know that society has these problems. So problems that you are familiar with and that you want to try to resolve. Okay? Problems. Focus on that right now. Generate problems. So it might be excess food waste. You know, that people throw in expos. They generate a lot of garbage. That there's a lot of waste, food waste. That there's, I don't know, we're going to have a water problem. Something, you know, what are the problems that you're thinking of? Don't judge them. Just think that you need to have access to the customer segment to be able to interview them, okay? At your age, there's problems. Go for them. They don't have to be incredible. It could be something in the playground, okay? Something that you encounter at school. Oh, something I didn't tell you, and that was my mistake. Each idea has to be in a piece of paper. So you can jot them down right now, but each idea, ideally I asked for Post-its, and they were trying to get Post-its for me. So each idea would go on a Post-it, but we don't have Post-its. So maybe cut papers off, and if you need more white paper, I'll pass more white paper, you can use the white paper. So don't use your notebooks, I will pass white paper. Jot your ideas if you want there, and then I'll pass white paper.
Oh yes, if I'm dividing choose one.
So I'm going to give you more white paper so that you can maybe break this paper and all into the paper. Okay. So if you need paper to jot your ideas are individual. Ideas should be put into little pieces of paper. We don't have Post-its. I have Post-its, okay? Yes, write them down here, but then we're going to put them in. Yeah, and the best way is on little papers, because that way you can move them around. Okay, so I'm going to give you another extra piece of paper in case you break. You cut them up and tear them up in pieces, and each one goes into one of these pieces, okay? Each idea. So you can jot them first there, and then pass them out. I'm giving you extra pieces of paper in case you need them. Sorry. Are you on your time? You just arrived. Okay, no problem, no problem. Turn around and join this group, okay? So you should be thinking, writing on a piece of paper. Okay, let me get you a piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to give you more paper. Just in case you want to start right here. I think you want to stop it down. Okay, here's another piece of paper for you guys. It's on our paper.
Just cut. I can ask you one.
Okay, no talking, just generate ideas as quickly as possible. I'm sorry. Squeeze over here. Hi, did you agree? Hi. Did you arrive late? Yeah. You have a number? You have your problems written down? Do you have them written down per paper, per piece of paper? So why don't you put some paper here? Okay, write them down individually because we're going to get together now and put them in order, see if there's similar. I know, but this one is to cut out. Okay? Okay, so I'm writing more paper in case you guys need it. Are you working with that? Okay, so maybe this one for here. So just in case you want to put your ideas, per piece of paper. We're going to try to do a karaoke if we can get the music connected to the speakers,
yes, sorry?
which is another challenge. I don't know. Okay,
yes.
We're going to skip the karaoke, okay? We're going to do Mamma Mia. It's not going to happen. So let's move on to the next slide. Yes, thank you.
No.
No Mamma Mia. Okay, so let's get started on the business model canvas.
Can you take the tip?
So, how to build the business model canvas? Well, we talked about having the problem, right? Slash idea. Ideally, it's a problem. Then we're going to go on and do the business model, develop it, try to understand, what is going to go into it. Then we go out and validate this using our lean methodology that we talked about previously. We're going to go through our customer discovery process and ideally, our customer validation. Now, if that doesn't work, obviously we have to go back into the business model and tweak those. So all of these are like assumptions that we have on our business model, and that's what we're going to be working on. So thank you. If you could change the slide. I don't know if I can actually, if the pointer is going to be, it works. Okay, so this is, by the way, in the class we have an expert who has actually taken the course with Mr. Alexander Osterwilder. So great to have him on the team. Yeah, great to have him here. So he's been teaching this course for several years now, I imagine. And so I'm probably going to do a much worse job because I have not taken the course from the author of this business model generation, which is such a great tool. So what we're going to do is, I want to briefly, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, explain the business model canvas to you, talk about the 9 different building blocks so that you guys can create, with the problem in mind that you've identified, then you're going to create this business model. And we're going to do it really quickly. We're not going to have more than 40 minutes to work on it. And then hopefully we'll do some sharing in the next 15 minutes. Everyone will present their business model, what they came up with. So let's move along really quickly to show how the logic of how we are creating value for our customers, right, in order to make money. So this is the business model canvas. On our right side, what we have is the relationship, the customer discovery process. This is where it all goes around the client, okay? We're starting with the customer segment, who has this problem. Then we're going to go on to value proposition. How can we solve this problem for our customers, right? We have customer relationship channels and the way we're going to be making money. Possible ways, okay? These are just hypotheses, remember. On the left-hand side, we have what our business is about, okay? So this is like our back office. Who are our key partners? Who are our main suppliers? What key activities are we going to be doing, right? Those that we don't do are obviously going to be outsourced to our partners. And what resources do we need? Obviously, these 3 aspects are going to generate cost for us. And that's what we're going to put in the cost structure. So let's start off with the customer segment, right? Who is this person, right? Who is this group of people? And we want to size them, and that's where the Samsung will come in, but we're not going to do that today. Just today, we're just going to be thinking about who are these people? If we can actually break them down into different customer segments, because we might have a double segment platform like Uber does, right? So Uber on one hand has people who need to go to places, and on the other hand, they have drivers. They're both their customer segments. So had we received the Post-its that I ordered, 2 weeks ago, we would have used different colors, because each one of these customer segments is then going to have different hypotheses for each part of the building blocks. But it's okay, we'll just make sure that when we talk about customer segment, we are certain to identify those customers that have this problem, okay? That have a problem that is identified in what we just did in the exercise. Okay, so now remember, this group of segments, this customer segment could be the mass, like everyone needs it, or it could be a more specific niche or several niches. Now, niches, remember, ideally you want to try to understand their demographics, their psychographics, geographically where they're located, and their behavior towards the product. Now, we don't have to go into the detail of the psychographic, but that's what we would do. If we were going to do this correctly, we would do a customer segmentation, right, analysis really identifies each one of our customer segments. For today's exercise, I'll be happy if you guys, if it's a niche market, if it's not for the mass, I'd really like it if you could at least try to guess the demographics. So is this male, female, both genders? Is it a certain age group? Do we need a certain income level? You know, that these people, this customer segment have, do they have a certain education level? What type of, where are they in their life cycle? That would also go into demographics, okay? We can also have, as I said, segmented or very diversified segments. So multiple segments or diversified, they have nothing to do with one another, right? But there are customer segments. So that's what, those are things that we need to look into. Then we can jump into the value proposition. The value proposition is how do we create value for them? We're really speaking to the customer. So it's not about features on our product, okay? It's not about our product or possible solution at all. It's about how do we resolve the problems for them, right? So we know what problem we're resolving here, but how do we resolve that problem for them would go here, right? So in value proposition, we can think about things like newness or performance or innovation or the brand, or we can think about if it's customizable. But what we need to think is ultimately, how do we create value for our customer segments that we've identified? So I'm going to go just really quickly through these, and we'll come back later on. Another possibility in value proposition, would be, are we going to be cost leaders? Is this something that has to do with our unique design, etc.? So how do we solve this problem for our customer segment? Going on to channels, how do we get it known to them? So what are we going to be using to let our customers know that we exist? How do we deliver this product to our customers, or this product or service if we are now thinking of a possible solution from our value proposition? How do we actually get it into their hands? And obviously this goes through a cycle. So we have awareness, right? And then evaluation. So how do we get it known to them? What social media would we think of using? How do we get our customers to evaluate our proposal? How do we get them to purchase it? Do they need to go to a physical store? Can they get it online? Do they download it from an app store? And then the delivery and after sales that need to be included. We might not have after sales. We just want to send them a customer survey, just to make sure that they're happy with the product or service, or we might need to be thinking of after-sales services like technical, in case their product or service needs follow-ups or they break down or whatever. Okay, then moving on to customer relationships. What is the relationship that we're going to be having with our customer? Is it going to be a very close-knit relationship where we have to be constantly talking to them? Or can we just connect with them via chatbots or Q&A? Do we have to have a direct sales team? So these are things that we have to think about. How do we create a special relationship with them or not? Maybe we don't need to create that special relationship and just have them be able to access us through a contact or some type of phone number, or we might want a call center, right? Do we want to form communities? Is another question that we need to ask ourselves. Is this something where we want to expand out enough? Now that we're talking about, here at Expo, I'm sure we're all going to be listening to about NFTs. And communities are going to be something really big in the coming years. So is it something that we want to form, a community, or is it something that we want our customers to co-create with us? Something like Waze, where there's co-creation, Wikipedia, there's co-creation there, right? People are putting their stuff and they're having it develop. So these are things that we need to be talking about. as we think about the customer relationships that we're going to be having. Okay, and as I said, these are things that are going around the client, right? It's all based around the customer up to now. Then we need to think about the revenue streams. So what are the revenue streams that we're going to have, right? So I'm just blasting through this because we've really taken a lot of time with the problems. But as long as we work on, have ideas of what type of revenue streams are possible for us. Is this something that we can have a subscription? Or is this something that is going to be an asset sale, right? An asset sale is this can of water that you're going to purchase this can of water that you're having, right? So you're going to buy it over and over again. Is it going to be recurring or a one-time type of thing, right? Because if we get a client to sign up a SaaS system with us, it's probably going to be one time, and then we'll be updating them and keeping the maintenance. So, all different alternatives, as I said, asset sale, we have usage fees. So when we rent a car, when we rent a hotel room, it's not ours and property, but we're paying for the use of it, right? That's another option. The subscription or the membership mode is another option. We can also do licensing, franchising. So those two are, licensing has more to do with the use of a formula or a product, the permission to use a product, while franchising is a whole business model, the use of the business model and using the brand. And are we going to get our money, our revenue from advertising? Now, when Alexander Osterwalder wrote this book, advertising was starting to be a big thing. Now, pretty hard to get, pretty hard to live by advertising, okay? But it's still an option, and as we know, data is a big thing now, so that can also be an option. So, moving on to the other side of our business model, Canvas, we have the key resources that we need to make this work. So when we think of a possible value proposition solution for our customer, are we thinking about things like patents that we need or employees that we need? Do we need some specific type of equipment? Maybe we need a fleet of bicycles or a delivery truck or just computers. So we need to come up with all of the equipment, all of the resources that we're going to need. Obviously, cash, money is going to be a big resource, and it's okay, you can put that, as well, because it's going to be something that we're going to be needing lots of. Okay, so let's jump to key activities. So key activities are the things that we're not going to outsource. Those are the activities that we want to control, that we want to be on top of, that we're not going to be outsourcing, right? So think about what are the things that are critical for you to keep under control, right? That you're going to do them. Maybe it's not going to be as cheap as if you outsource, but that you really need to control these. So if you're going to be creating a website, an app, and then it's going to be, your business is going to be based on that, then think of having an IT person on your team, okay, and not outsourcing that. So you really need to think of the things that are critical for you to be able to pull this off, right? So let's go on to key partners. And the key partners are the people that we really need to have on our team, although they're not on our team. So those things that we thought we should outsource, they're going to be our key partners, okay? And these could be strategic alliances between non-competitors. It could be, just strategic partners that help each other out to increase both our businesses. It could be joint ventures. It could be a typical supplier relationship. So who do we need to be working along with us on that value creation, right? And so here we're thinking more of value chain and not supply chain, right? So who are going to be those key players that we need to work together with to be able to deliver that value to our customers? Okay, those are the key partners. So finally, all of these are going to be reflected in a cost structure, right? They're going to generate both key activities, key resources, and key partners. They're going to be costing us money. And we're not going to make any calculations. We're just going to put, identify what type of costs we are going to be paying. We need to calculate in our startup costs. So think about resources, those resources that we were talking about, maybe that equipment that we need, maybe paying for a patent, setting up our legal operations, identifying our partners and working and collaborating with them, maybe their initial payments for supplies or for materials that we need from them. Okay, and so all of these key working resources, key activities, key partners, they're going to be crucial to keep in mind because they're going to be generating these costs that we want to be able to identify. So I know I've run through this very quickly, and I'm sorry for that. But what we're going to be doing now is an example, okay, of this business model to make sure that we get an idea of how this works. So go back to the year 2000. So we have a few children in the audience who were not born, had not been born by the year 2000, but might have seen pictures of the iPod. So this is the year 2000, Steve Jobs is presenting the iPod. Okay, so let's do this exercise together. Who is the customer segment for the iPod? Okay, you could have said teenagers, but who said anyone? Everyone who loves music. It was really for anyone who loved music, right? What were the options back then that we had? Before we had the iPod, right, there were remember the Sony Walkman? Okay, so we had the Sony Walkman, we had traditional stereos to listen to our music on, CD players, right? And so it was a pain in the neck to go with your album, CD player album. Do you guys remember those? Right? With the leaflets, and you would put the CDs into that. So there were some MP3 players. That was also competition, but there was nothing like the iPod because it was your whole music library. It had the first iPod could get 1,000 songs of music into it. Now we think of that and we laugh because right now we have just so much capacity to store music. But back then it was amazing to have at your fingertips this very small device. So the value proposition was this ultra portability for your music, where you could have your whole music library inside this one very small gadget, right, to experience listening to music. That was the value proposition, this gadget that would basically transport you into your whole music library. Okay, so it's for everyone, the value proposition. Customer relationships. How did they sell it? What were the type of relationships that they had with you, with the customer back then? So some of you are thinking the Apple Store, but guess what? That wasn't created until the year 2004. So what type of a relationship did we have? Okay, so anyone who had a Mac really was familiar with the brand and maybe had some type of contact with Apple, right? But at that time, it was, identifying Apple. It was going to retail stores, and that takes us to the next part, which is the channels. So it's really about going to the retail stores and playing with the iPod and figuring out how it worked. We could also order it online. So there wasn't any Apple stores, and that was, they created the Apple stores because they saw that that was a great impediment for people to buy such a higher price for the MP3 without really understanding what it did for them. Yeah, they created the Apple Store so that people could really experiment and look at them. If you went to a retailer, you could go and buy it at the Apple the online store. And later on, we had the Apple stores created. Okay. So what is the revenue stream? How did Apple make money from this? From the iPod? So the gadget itself, it's an asset sale, right? But there was another way of making money. Right, by the selling the music, right? The iTunes store. You guys remember the iTunes store, right? So 99 cents a song. And we would download the songs, right? So we have these revenues coming from the songs themselves. We have the revenue coming from the assets. Let's go on to the other side of the canvas. So who are our partners? So we're Apple, right? Who are the Apple?
Singers.
Yes, the artists. The artists are going to be our music labels, or the artists are going to be our partners. Who else? Does Apple produce? Right, Foxconn, because Apple does not produce themselves. So key activities, who does produce? Who does produce for them? So who are their, so what do they do? I mean, so we're saying they don't manufacture, they're their partners, the original equipment manufacturers, Foxconn. So what do they do? What are their key activities at this time, just briefly? Sale, marketing, design, right? All of the research and design. So these are key activities that Apple does. They are great at marketing and at designing, right? But they do not manufacture. Now, for key resources, what do we need to get this iPod into our customers' hands? What are we going to be needing apart from cash? Obviously, we always need cash. What else do we need?
We need content.
Well, we need the product, so we need to pay for that product, right? But more than the product, it's the design, maybe the patent, right? It's that patent that we need so that we protect ourselves for at least 10 years before someone else can copy us. So the patent, we need the software, right? The content, we need the agreements with the artists that we've talked about. So we're taking shape of all these things that we need, which are the resources that we need to have in order to be able to get this value into our customers' hands. And finally, we have the cost. So obviously, if we said that we have to pay for the OEMs, right, the OEMs are going to be hearing cost. So we need the people on our team that are going to be doing the marketing, the research and development. We need the lawyers for the legal agreements with the artists, the record brands. We also need, what else? The marketing and sales, right? So this is what I want you basically to do now with your teams. But before that, you have to identify one problem. So you first identify one cluster, but the problem is still too broad. So what I want you to do is to get out the pieces of paper, the problems that you identified in that first voting, and decide which one you're going to be working on, okay? Because that's what you're going to be solving for. That's what you're going to be creating the value proposition for. So I know it's broad, I know it's still broad, but we don't have a lot of time, and so we need to start working on that, and then you're going to go on, and I'm going to leave this so that you can create your boards in a freshly new business model canvas, and I'll be going around to answer any questions that you might have, because I know that the theory was very quickly given, okay? But it's just to start working on how this business model canvas can help us, really identify the core building blocks of our possible business model. And obviously, we would come up with assumptions. These are all assumptions, and we would need to get out of the building, as Steve Left would say, and validate these assumptions one by one. And I'd like us to do it very quickly because if at the end we have time, I want to show you a video of a startup who actually used this format and was really successful in identifying, going out and validating, and that's what I would like to see you, to show you how this could really work for you and your startups. Okay, so is what we're doing clear now, or a little? Okay, I'll be going from table to table, but I want you guys to take try it. So 40 minutes, okay? It's not a lot of time. I know I'm going to put the watch. And you have 40 minutes to undertake this challenge. Good luck.
So identify which one we are going to work with. Sustainability.
So you need to draw the canvas. There's more paper in back if you need more paper to draw the canvas. And you're going to be writing your ideas directly on it. Ideally, you're working with Post-its, but they'll help. So while one of you does that, the other should start deciding what problem. Get what one does. Then once that, what is the solution to the problem? So who has the problem? And then how we can hope to solve it. That's why I want to start with the customer segment and then go on to that possible solution. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you, are you free to join the startup?
then we have spread it out with so suddenly the next player with a lot of capacity. So that's what I see. Then two value propositions that we're going to have. The value proposition for the people transported, which is cheaper to getting a taxi and cheaper to getting a taxi. And the driver, the value proposition for the driver is that they so what you do is try to fill out.
Can you comment them? Can be a good point. Cheers. Can be a good point. You work on it? You work on it? Which one? Which one of these? The four one. Often not simple. To be done
Sure, I'm Ashu and we and my team here, we are trying to build what we call help for an offline world. So what essentially help does is they influence buying decisions based on what other people think about the products, and we want to do that for an offline world, not things that are available online. So starting simple, like how could we influence somebody buying an Apple? So he wants to know more about Apple, so where is that information from? So we are giving that information from the source to procurement with our multiple partners on the way. So I will know where Apple is produced, where it is stored, and how does it end up on the plate. So based on that, people could make conscious decisions, and and the businesses can sell more to customers. And people who do that would sell much more than somebody who does not do that. So key partners would be somebody who is producing or selling it, from somebody FMCG producers or supermarkets or key partners. Key activities is to we are essentially a data company. We buy data and we sell it to people who want it. So we make data capture mechanisms so that people can keep adding the data at relevant points, and people who want to access that can use it. And in the middle, the people who are selling the products pay us the money. So that's how this works. Value proposition: customer is more informed. People are making conscious choices in making the decision, and customer and products which actually focus on informing the customer wins. Yes, the channel is of course there's a mobile app, and yeah, that's about that. Thank you.
Okay, so pass it to the next speaker. 2 minutes, please. It's on. You can hear. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Nohem Sakut, and our team, we came up with an idea for a sports multi-sided platform. It's one app, and once you download it, you can access any gym or training facility anywhere in the world. It's dedicated to busy professionals, entrepreneurs who travel a lot or move around within their cities a lot. So you just subscribe to the app, you get discounted rates, or it's included already in the app, and you can access it in any city in the world. It's inspired by our struggles when you travel and wanting to maintain your healthy lifestyle. We will be partnering up with gyms, trainers, spas, specialized fitness studios. We will also be partnering up with smartwatches and their apps, brands, fitness brands, and wellness, food and nutrition brands as well. We have a multi-stream revenues. We have subscription-based revenue. We have the revenue share with the gyms and the facilities, and we also have brand sponsorships as one of the revenue streams. Okay. Yeah, that's all we have.
are creating a new drone. It's going to be for passengers and transport things from point A to point B. Our key features is that the drone is a modular drone that can be adapted for many markets at the same time. So we save, basically the idea is to save the cost of building the product, feeding many markets as possible. So it can be for government, for defense, for Uber, for Amazon, for a lot of
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Junior. I'm glad to introduce the T5 brand, and my partners are going to tell you more about it.
Guys, can we have more conversation, please? So we realize that many of us, startups, new businesses, family businesses, struggle to reach our right clientele because we have to compete with very big name brands, already established brands. So we are a marketing and branding intelligence company for exponential growth.
So key features include where we help startups, family businesses, and freelancers who have to compete with big giants like L'Oreal, P&G, etc. When they are a startup and huge discounting becomes a very big problem. We as a company come in place to give them CMOs, CFOs, where they come and they become their strategic partners with mentors from different big giants. We are people who own startups, freelancers, and family businesses where startup needs all the services of branding and marketing to finance and cost structure. Where family-owned businesses requires how to come up with new technology and advancements with new age, where people come from family business are rooted in their old structural way. We come up with new strategic partners where they help to form their business into new technological world. For freelancers, we give them the agencies and client perspectives for them to work with multiple big marketing agencies for them to get new client and sales.
Okay, thank you.
This is Aaron, representing Team 6. We are also in the employee well-being space, as Team 2 was saying. So what we want to build is, we want to build a platform, an app, which can measure employee happiness. Because we strongly believe that employee happiness is essentially employee satisfaction. So look at it as a tool which is going to be constantly involved with employees, right from the top to the bottom. We're trying to personalize things like self-learning, improving on skills, how can employees create their own training plan, upskilling plans and things like that. And through these skills, we are trying to understand and help management in terms of which employees needs help or which areas needs help. It is going to be a SaaS platform. It is going to exist on top of the existing HRIS, HRMS systems that companies are going to be having. This can cater to both big, large enterprises as well as small and medium enterprises, where the key IP is talent, where we're looking at tech companies, engineering companies, IT companies, where people are the most important asset. In terms of partnerships, we are trying to partner with industry ecosystem in terms of evangelism, platform companies, HCM companies like produce the HRIS sort of systems. The key activities that we will be doing is obviously building the tech, marketing it and taking it to the HR community. The revenue stream is a SaaS-based billing, which means that it is going to be based on the consumption of the solution on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry, actually we have to wrap up the workshop. But a loud round of applause for Ms. Leticia for attending this workshop.
Just like maybe 1 minute.
Okay,
just
let's go with the last one.
Both of
Last
you
one.
just tell the problem and like.
Last one.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the problem is going to be to resolve the security of those who are more vulnerable. So it will be based due to security solutions intended for those who are at risk. Can be children or people, or people in small villages, handicaps. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's your turn.
Our problem was basically when the environment was like
Thank you so much. So I hope this workshop was helpful for you, and it was a pleasure collaborating with you, and I hope to see you over these few days. So thank you very much.